Hello, everyone. This is Paula coming to you live from my living room, still recuperating from shoulder surgery. This is the Common Book Show, and I'm here today with Richard and James and my son Tom on drums. And we have a studio audience today who shall remain nameless. So I am still in the process. I only have a couple more pages of this book left, thank God. When I read it at night before I go to sleep, I think I can only get through 2 or 3 pages before I conk out. But I want to read this because it's interesting. This is the Run to the Mountain by Thomas Merton. And he's talking, this is 1941. Okay, this is his diary. It's November 26, 1941. And he is talking about this new, loud, obnoxious music that he is listening to. He's working in Harlem, and he's listening to this music. And it says, all day long through the walls of this building comes the sound of radios from all sides, all playing the same terrible stuff from the same place, the local station. I don't know whether it is anything very new because I haven't even listened to radios much, at least not in the last 4 years. But it seems that nearly all the singing has turned into horrible, discordant, monstrous wailing and hooting in the style of those Andrew sisters. They take one fundamental discord and never change it, simply going on hooting it like a steam siren in a sort of oblivious rhythm, and the effect is horrible. Now all the singing is like that, never changes. No inventiveness, no taste, no rhythm, no harmony, just this offensive and monotonous hooting and wailing. Not even melody. In fact, melody less than anything. It has become so that melody, the last stronghold of people who weren't sure enough of their taste to let it go for rhythm, etc., even that has been lost. Now there is just the pure vulgarity of this wailing, incessant, unrelieved. He's talking like about the Andrew sisters. Mm-hmm. I just thought it's so typical that one generation, and he's still young in this, he's still in his 20s, mm-hmm. but he's talking about the new music that's come about, and every generation seems to think the next generation of music is noise. Mm-hmm. And it's consistent, isn't it? I mean, from Frank Sinatra to Elvis Presley, from Elvis Presley to Billy, can't think of the names of the groups back then. But anyway, it's just like every 5 years, it seems like the people hate the next 5-year music. And I just thought that when I read Andrew Sisters, I almost died because, that's music my mother listened to. Hmm.
I would agree with that. But a lot of it is frequencies.
So it has something to do with the frequency of the music?
Yes. There's even parts about frequencies that are specific to ages. There was some research, and I'm sorry I can't remember it to give you sources, but it said that people above a certain age don't actually hear certain frequencies anymore. So those frequencies are completely dropped out. But on the other hand, there are frequencies that annoy you at a particular age, but actually suck you in at a younger age.
Yeah, that makes sense to me in some way, because I feel that I don't know. I try to keep an open mind about music. I like some rap. I like some hip hop. I don't like it all. I don't like violent lyrics, but I also like music from the 20s and 30s and 40s. But there's a lot of people who are really stuck in that they only like music that happened between when they were like 11 to maybe 25. They got like this cutoff point.
That's also
And
biological.
yeah, I mean, I'm not angry. And so the music for young people is angry. I'm not angry anymore. When I was young, I was angry because I figured out, oh my God, this is what life is? It sucks. Anyway, but I'm not angry I mean, you figure it out after a while. So I don't like angry music, but I I like Billie Eilish, and I mean, I like the way she sounds. And there's some other newer music that I like, but there's a lot of people who just push it away because it's not familiar. And I mean, even with Greg, he likes, if he's going to go to a concert, he likes to, even if it's a new band he's never heard, he wants to listen to their music before he goes so it's familiar. Whereas I don't mind hearing something new live. But Richard, did you find that at all interesting that that he thought so? I guess it was boogie woogie, right? That kind of music.
I don't know. Is that what that's called? What the Andrews sisters did?
Yeah, like what I'm thinking of is their most famous song, um, that Company B song. You know,
Yeah, the Bugle
the
Boy.
Company B. Yeah, the Bugle Boy, exactly. So that's the song I'm thinking of, and that sounds like boogie woogie to me.
We're talking about how when you reach a certain age, you stop liking contemporary music. You call it trash. Paula read from a diary from Thomas Merton in 1941. He was listening to the radio and he said, I find the Andrews sisters appalling.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if that's true.
Right.
I mean, why do you think he reacted that
well,
way?
If you want to sit in, you can pull your chair back.
I don't know. I don't know why he reacted that way. I can't speak for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking more of like the contemporary music scene. I think music today is actively bad. I think it's genuinely bad music, most of it.
Mm-hmm.
So even people like Billie Eilish.
The vast majority of it, not necessarily Billie Eilish, but I think
I don't like the dance stuff. Yeah.
There's a guy named Rick Beato, who's one of the best music educators in the United States, and he has a YouTube channel, and he talks about this stuff all the time, and he analyzes technically how music has deteriorated in the last 15 years or so, and I agree with him. But I mean, I like everything from Gregorian chant up until 20 years ago, and I don't see it. And I'm very open-minded, so I think it's I think most popular music is quite awful today.
I think I need to send you a couple links from YouTube, just things that I found that I liked. Because what I do is I go on, if I find a piece of new music that I like, I go on Pandora and I put that into Pandora as a station, and then they give me things that are similar to that, and I can hear some new music. And there's some stuff that's not too bad.
Oh no, there's definitely good music out there. There's hello, Greg.
Greg is photobombing the show.
I mean, I know good musicians whom I like.
Yeah.
I mean, mainstream cultural music, I think, has deteriorated.
Well, right. The stuff that's on pop, and the other big mistake I think that they make is to take, every radio station has its own genre. Like when we were growing up, on the radio station, you would hear like James Brown next to the Beatles, next to the Animals, next to the Supremes, right? You'd hear all these different songs one after the other, and you got a really good eclectic mix of different types of music. But now if I go on the radio stations that my grandchildren like, once in a while there'll be one song that strikes me and it's like, wow, that sounds pretty good. But then if I try to listen to more music by that person, it just turns out that it was that one particular song that had interesting hook or something like
but the
that.
difference
Like
is
Crazy Without Sparkling.
Pardon me?
the difference is in the 70s, every day there were 4 songs that were amazing, and now it's a wasteland. I mean, for several
There's
reasons.
so many.
I
There's
would
so
s-
many musical groups now. It's
but-
gotten out of hand.
but a lot of the music today is quantized, auto-tuned, and
Oh, right.
the
That's true.
chord changes are extraordinarily unimaginative and boring and limiting, which is going to limit the quality of the melodic material. Quantizing means they'll take a drum, like a drummer like John Bonham, and
Mm-hmm.
the way a drummer plays is they play off the beat. There's soul, there's rhythm, and they put
Yeah.
everything like a machine exactly on the beat, and it's boring. It's
Right, you're not gonna
inhuman.
get
It's
into
machine-like,
fills.
and everything sounds like that. Auto-tune means they tune every note to the singer's voice exactly in the key, and there's no
That was
humanity
that
to it.
thing that
Cher
the,
did
the
that.
thing that Cher
yeah.
started that with that "Do You Believe
Yeah.
in Love?"
Right.
Remember that?
I
That was
do.
that
That's
song.
the first
and
time
it was
they
an
used that.
interesting little. Yeah, it was an interesting little song, and it sounded like it was a cool, almost like a synthesized voice or something.
Yeah.
It was a cool
But when-
effect. As everybody called it
Cool.
cyborging,
Yeah,
but
it was a cool effect. But if you have to use it because you can't sing,
Yeah.
you should probably take a couple singing lessons.
True. And I'm not an old man yelling at the clouds. I mean, it's like I love music. I genuinely love music. And if I heard something that's genuinely good music, I'll recognize it as such, but I hear very little of it, at least in
Well,
popular.
I'll send you some links of things that I like and see, they do sound more like older music. Like the one band that I like sounds a little bit like Simon and Garfunkel, even though it's a band.
Okay.
if I might interject here, my
Sure.
clients typically go through a essentially chemically induced puberty, and they all end up going back into that teenage state where they suddenly are very passionate about music again, and they end up
With the new, do they get passionate about the new music?
yes.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Huh.
Now, when you're working on a client, do you tell the client you pick the music that I'm playing while I'm working?
No. What we do while we're working has a lot to do with whatever agreement we have for what they're doing. Some will listen to lectures, some will watch movies, others will choose to either play their favorite radio station or they'll choose stuff off of YouTube. And the ones who either play their favorite radio station or pick songs off of YouTube, it's always new stuff and very teenage kinds of things.
Well, I mean, it reminds me when I was a young kid, and I would listen to songs like I was when I was 8 or 9, bubblegum music, and I loved it, But then as I got older, my tastes got more sophisticated. But yeah, so I can see if somebody is going because of the hormonal changes. That's an interesting effect. I wonder if anybody's ever written about that. I think that's a cool thing.
Not sure anybody's paid attention to it to write anything about it. After
Yeah.
all, my clients are a very particular bunch.
Yeah, that's true.
I have an
So,
interesting anecdote on music,
Okay.
followed by a question.
All right.
Okay, so when my friend Teddy was going through a divorce, his wife was the plaintiff. She filed for divorce.
80 to 90% of the time, that's how it goes.
And as the divorce was proceeding, they're both living in the same house. So they had dialogue about where did things go wrong. Now she said to him If you want to find out why our marriage fell apart, there's a song on the radio right now. Go listen to it. It'll tell you exactly where I'm at. So he did. And that inspired him to find a song on the radio that represented his feelings so that he could go to his wife and say, I listened to it. Now I want you to go find this song on the radio and you'll see how I feel. So in both instances, the music represented their internal state, or you could say their internal perspective. Do you think that would happen with today's contemporary music?
I think you'd always be able to find something like that.
Yeah, I think that the music that there's a lot of music about, like Taylor Swift has a lot of music about breakups and about feelings, about relationships. Adele, oh my God, Adele has tons of painful breakup music. So I think depending, I mean, I know Adele's not exactly top of the charts right now, but sometimes I'll hear songs about when I'm listening with my grandkids, where they're talking about, like, yeah, I think so. I think that because that's what the people that age are relating to. They're not relating to the songs that we found meaningful when we were growing up. I mean, I remember having a really strong attachment to the song Different Drum because, when I was younger, I thought, yeah, I don't want a relationship. I want to be free so that I can enjoy my life and live my life, And so I'm sure everybody, that's a song that I thought of as a theme song as a young person. Do any of you have theme songs that you related to?
Well, it depends on what part of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right. What part of your life?
Well, look at it from a sociological perspective. Do you think the song I Can't Get No Satisfaction represented dissatisfaction with consumer culture in the 60s?
No.
I think that they wrote that as a sexual song because they were a rock and roll band, but it does to me. I mean, it has lyrics that say such
Yeah,
things.
someone's on the radio trying to sell me something I don't really need.
Yeah, but he can't be a man because he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as me. Yeah.
Good memory, yeah.
So in other words, I'm wondering if you look at the music of any era, if you can tell a lot about what's going on inside the culture.
Oh, like all the war, the Vietnam War music from that period.
Right.
Something's
Right.
happening.
That song,
yeah.
Imagine Me and You, I Do. I think
Yeah.
about you day and night. That wasn't intended to be anti-war, but the people in Vietnam heard it and said, wow, he's talking about how much we hate being here in this war.
Wow, I never knew that. That's an interesting fact I got to think about the lyrics. Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. I can't see that as an anti-war song, but
The
but,
lyrics make it possible to view the song as if you're not in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's more talking about, I want to be with you forever. Yeah. And even the very last line of the song is, how is the weather? Would you say that to someone that you're not in the same place?
I never thought of that. Yeah. If I could call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind, imagine how. Yeah, I could see where the soldiers would feel like that was speaking about the girls they left back home,
And then, of course, they also loved the song, We Got to Get Out of This Place.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
For obvious reasons.
And they don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
Yeah, that's another good one. But I tried when and the rare times when I tried to have a conversation with my stepfather, like I played him the that it's Buffalo Springfield. Something's happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. What is the name of that song? There's a man for what
What's
it's
that
worth.
sound?
Yeah, I played that song for him because he lost a son in Vietnam, and he was not, he was brutal, that guy. But his reaction to that was not, oh, what a sensitive, thoughtful song. It was turn that bullshit off, basically. But it was not music from his generation. So then I didn't know about that when I was 15.
Well, it could also be a reaction to the lyrics
Well,
because
he wasn't really listening to the lyrics. He just didn't like the way the music sounded. He was not a sensitive man, let's put it that way. But so Richard, where did you get all this information about how the GIs were relating to the songs from the 60s and 70s?
The writer of that song, Imagine Me and You, I Do.
Yeah.
His name is Howard Kalin. He's a singer, too.
Uh-huh.
He wrote a biography, and I read his biography, and I learned a lot about, his perspective on things. Now, you mentioned how was the weather? In his biography, the recording engineer said, now we're going to fade this song out. So when you get to the last, part of the song, you got to keep singing just so that we have something, to fade out with. Don't stop abruptly, right? So he's singing the same thing over and over again, and he's thinking, oh, hell, it's going to fade out anyway. I'll just throw something stupid in. So he threw that in, and then the producer said, that's good. Let's leave that in there.
Yeah, but James made a good point about that separation between the people and the fact you're asking how the weather is, so you're not there where they are. But that maybe that's just coincidental in how because it's not just the intention of the artist who creates something. It's a lot of it has to do with how it's perceived by the people who are listening to it.
Well, a Freudian would say his subconscious mind wanted him to say how was the weather for James's very reason.
Yeah, I guess. But I never looked at that song as a political song in any way, and it's interesting to hear it
well, it's one of those
expressed like that.
serendipitous kind of things because if you listen to even the structure of the song, the music is at a marching beat. It's like a Sousa song. You can literally march to that song.
Oh yeah, you could. Oh, you're coming up with some good ones today there, James.
Hey, when you let
You
me
got your
speak.
theoretical mindset going.
You got your thinking cap on.
I don't think it's always about interpretation, though. I think there's a clear intention behind a song or music. When Shostakovich wrote the Seventh Symphony, the Leningrad Symphony, it was deliberately written to inspire the Russian people against the Nazis. It's a very clear message. You can interpret it any way you want, but do you know the story behind that?
No.
It's astonishing. When Leningrad was surrounded by the Nazis and they couldn't get any food, I think 800,000 people starved to death. And they were working, the orchestra, the Leningrad Philharmonic was working on the piece, and the musicians kept dying. So they were going house to house. Do you play the violin? Do you play the flute? Do you play percussion? Then they die. They finally worked this piece up, and when they gave the first performance, they blasted loudspeakers over the battlefields, like through a radio broadcast, to tell the Nazis, we're not going to give up. And it's astonishing that there's a book written about it. I have it. I think it's just called Leningrad, the story of Shostakovich's masterpiece or something like that. And it's a really inspiring story. But there's a case in which it's very clear what the intention was behind the music. I mean, of course, you can interpret it any way you want, and you can listen to it and have emotions and project whatever fantasies you want onto music. But I think the artist should also be consulted.
Oh,
I mean,
of
they
course.
wrote the music, so it has a meaning, it has an intention.
Right. There's
You know?
always the artist's intention. That's certainly true. But I find when I'm looking at a piece of art or listening to music, I kind of like to come to my own conclusion and then maybe investigate a little bit and read about what the intention was. Or if it's something really confusing, I will look up and see if there's anything online about what the intention of that particular artist was.
Yeah.
But, if a piece of artwork grabs me, it grabs me for reasons inside my own psyche,
Yep.
not necessarily
understand.
because, so the artist is communicating with me, maybe not the exact thing they wanted to communicate, but I'm feeling that, because why else do people create except to communicate with other people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there is a bit of a disturbing kind of thing that happens in the music industry where many of the number one songs and top songs of the year were actually cases where the record company said, "We want one more song." The band angrily went back into the studio, "Screw these guys, we'll just throw anything on a tape." And that ends up being the number one song.
Maybe the anger motivated them.
That happened with one of the Van Halen albums. I know that. I don't remember which one.
Which song?
It was who's their second singer, not David Lee Roth. Who's
Sammy?
Sammy Hagar. It was one of the albums they did with Sammy Hagar, and it's a song you'd know. I just can't think of the name of the song. For a musician, it's ironic. I can never remember the lyrics of songs or the names of songs. It's very strange. I don't know.
Lyrics I remember, names I have a hard time with.
Yeah.
It's probably
But,
right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be. It might be.
I know that the Bangles were told that albums have 10 songs on them, a minimum of 9. They had turned in 8. And the studio said, either you give us one more song or we're not going to accept the 8th that you've already put in and send you back to come up with 10 more songs. So they angrily went into the studio and in 15 minutes burped out "Walk Like an Egyptian." Here's your effing song.
That song became popular because first of all, the rhythm was great in that song, but it was unique. It was different. I remember calling when I lived in New York. I remember calling record companies and trying to. Actually, it was the audio tape that you, Richard, had done for Kenny, and I was trying to encourage, I wanted to send them the tape, a copy of the tape. And I was trying to do a little business, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And I had 3 different record companies, because at the time, the song Betty Davis Eyes was popular. And I had 2 out of the 3 companies I called asked me if there was anything on there that sounded like Betty Davis Eyes.
Wow.
And I'm like, don't you want original stuff? No, we want stuff that sells.
In some ways, Pat Benatar owes her career to the coincidence that Deborah Harry and Blondie did not put out an album at a time when the record company wanted them to do so. And so they had Pat Benatar do a song called "We Live for Love" that sounds like Debbie Harry. So when they put out the single, it got airplay all over, but as it ran up the charts, people in the record stores were saying, "I want the new one from Blondie." And
Oh, wow.
Hey, you've heard it? We Live for Love. No, that's Pat Benatar. Who?
Well, okay, so I want to just run this past you guys because I started posting some of the old Greg Sterle shows on my Facebook page. And I posted one particular show that featured Kevin Hosey and I don't know who else, I can't remember. And Facebook took it down.
With
They
no
said-
reason?
No, they gave me a reason. They said it looked like I was trying to solicit sensitive information from people. So Tom made a good point saying, what did I write on, when I posted it, but I don't think was anything there, but there may have been something in my opening monologue that it may have been during tax season or something.
Were you asking questions?
And I was riffing on, how the IRS were very important to them. They put us on hold, and I gave tips, but I don't think it was that one. Anyway, whatever. I have to listen to that opening monologue and see if I said something that made them believe that I was trying to get personal information out of people. But I've been having fun with that, with Nessa and Tom putting those up online, and then I watch them and I don't know how many more I'm gonna. I'll just keep trying to post the ones that that have people that are still alive, people that would want to see them, but we'll see how many Facebook takes down.
They take down a lot of interesting things, like, and what kills me is they will suggest things to you, saying, "Here's some of your memories that you may want to revisit," and you have a little button that says reshare. So you click that and it comes up on your feed as a memory from X number of years ago.
Yeah.
So I was looking through that feed and there's a thing that I had posted something like, I don't know, 9-10 years ago. And if you're familiar with the song Viva La Vida from Coldplay, if I do that song at karaoke, I always dedicate it to the President of the United States. Some people get it, some people don't. So, some 10 or 12 years ago, I posted up Viva La Vida and said, here's a long distance dedication going out to the Bushes, the Clintons, and Obama. So it comes up in my feed as a memory you might want to share. So I click to reshare it, and you get to add a new blurb on top of the previous one. So what I said as my new blurb was, it's coming that time when we can add a new name to the list for dedications. And about 2 hours later, I saw that they left the part where I said, it's that time to add a name to the list, and they deleted everything else.
How weird.
Are you kidding me?
You think this was done by a robot or by a human?
It's probably AI.
I don't know, but I just can't. I can't imagine how they could have thought. Like I get those messages all the time. People, they, what do you call it when you put your name? They put my name on the message, and they're ridiculous things. Like, one time I knew it was a scam because it was a young girl that I used to be a job coach for, and she said, my friend is selling a car. It's in good shape. It's $1,500, and there were a lot of people tagged in this message. So I knew it was a scam because, first of all, I don't think she would know how to tag people. And second of all, I messaged that person and I said, is this a friend of yours that's selling the car, or is it somebody that you just saw online? And she said, oh no, it's a friend. And it said, if you send me $500 right now, I can secure that car for you. And I should have immediately reported the person, but I didn't. I said, you're a scammer. I'm going to report you. And before I got to the place where I could report them, everything was gone.
I once
But,
had.
but here I go. I post a Greg Sterle show and it gets taken down.
I had a scammer like that once, and the thing was, I knew the person, so I'm talking to this scammer, and I know it's a scammer.
Yeah.
So I'm saying things like, well, yeah, don't you remember last weekend when we were hanging out at the pool? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And of course, there's this thing we're doing now. Why don't you send me the $50 and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, why don't you just come over to my place and you can bring it with you and I'll give you the money. Oh, no, I got to do it this way, whatever. So, okay, well then, tell you what, I'll just come by your place. It'll be easier to do that. And I just wasted this person's time for a half hour going back and forth with, no, I can come over. It's no big deal. In the meantime, I've actually called the person and said, you got to, check out your Facebook because somebody's trying to scam all your friends.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
Hey guys, I'm gonna take off because I hardly slept all week and I'm getting dizzy. Actually, I really got to take off. I'm pretty wiped out. Like I probably got about 6 hours of sleep in the last 4 days, so I'm pretty fried.
Okay.
Stay awake when you're driving. Be careful.
I will. Okay, I'll see you, Paula.
Okay.
See you guys.
All right. Bye. So, all right. So, like Richard, what do you have? We've got 23 minutes left. What do you have on your list?
It has to do with another one of the arts,
Okay.
sculpture.
Okay.
Now, usually when a sculpture is commissioned, the final say of how the sculpture comes out is in the power of the person doing the work.
Okay.
So, a city that is closely associated with Oscar Wilde, namely Chelsea, wanted to have a sculpture of Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
So they hired the famous person Eduardo Paolizzi to do the sculpture. Now, he did not give them like a little drawing and saying, this is what it's going to look like. He said, if you hire me, basically I do it and I give it to you. Look what he did. This is kind of strange. He
Asked the guy before he did the statue how he felt about Oscar Wilde,
I don't know.
because it seems like he has a negative opinion of him. Don't you think? Doesn't it look like that?
Well, they're asking the great-grandchild of Oscar Wilde, what do you think? And he said, I think that it doesn't represent the whole of my great-grandfather's life. It represents maybe the end of it.
Okay, I can see that after De Profundis. After he was in prison and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so, do you think that the artist was fair to the community that was trying to exalt
Well,
Oscar Wilde?
I'm sure if they could go back in time, they would say, give us a drawing and we'll decide whether or not we give you the go-ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times they'll if there's something public like that, they will they will have like not a lottery, but they'll ask for different ideas, you
Yeah.
know, and then they'll pick somebody.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see what other kinds of sculpture he's done that
Oh,
led
that's a good idea. I didn't
led
think
the
of
town
that.
to believe that they were going to get something that they wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. What else did this guy do? Eduardo Paolazzi. There it is. Ooh. He's British too. Okay. And let's see what else he did. Wow, they only have his drawings. You know, he does paintings too.
Oh,
Well, he
So
did do this one. So,
responsibility to the people who paid you to come up with something that's going to suit their needs.
yeah, that's an excellent thing that you're saying there, Paula.
I mean, like in the olden days, in the very olden days, there were patrons of the arts, and those patrons of the arts paid for you to make art that appealed to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but is that, see, okay, we can argue this back and forth. I, without the help of anyone else, I can argue this back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been disappointed if I were that town. And do you think the guy just didn't like Oscar Wilde?
I don't know. What do you think his interior motivation was, James?
I can't say what his is or was. I would just say that people doing this kind of art are notorious for doing things like this. Just look at a collection of so-called Martin Luther King Jr. commemorative statues that are littered across the country. The one in Buffalo does not look like any iteration of Martin Luther King Jr. that you would find in any picture.
Did you ever see that statue in Jamestown of Lucille Ball?
Yes, a very good point.
My God, is that Richard, have you seen it? You got to
Oh,
look
yeah.
it up.
Okay.
Oh, it's just hideous.
Actually, on garbage compactor.
It looks like Greg said, like she was put into a garbage compactor. She was a gorgeous woman with a great, I mean, she was my idol because she was beautiful and funny. She was a beautiful woman who was not afraid to be funny. And I loved that about her. You know, she was brave. And this looks like her. That looks like her. It looks like her, like when she was in her 40s or 50s.
We went on her 100th birthday to the day.
Yeah, we went to Jamestown on Lucille Ball's 100th birthday to visit her gravesite and to go to the.
Oh, I think, yeah, they did change it because I found the one. Look at that.
Yeah.
Complaints, obviously.
It was like-
Again, it doesn't look like any version of Lucy you would find in any photograph of her.
Exactly, and so I guess it can't be easy to make, but sometimes you'll see wax statues, like when we watch television, they'll show the wax statue of someone. It doesn't look anything like them either.
Hmm.
I guess not everyone's is at the top of their talent, I know when they make my wax statue, I want somebody good to do it.
Oh, I found a side by side, old versus new. This is pretty interesting. All right.
Art like this is a way to launder drug money. That
You always have
statue
such
certainly
interesting
makes that
ideas.
a
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder, I suppose, if you were really smart, you could ship the drugs in the hollow body of the statue. I'm giving people ideas out there. Yeah, so I'd be curious to see, does it say who made that hideous one?
Sure, we can find that out.
Yeah.
Not gonna know who they are, Paul.
No, but I want to see other stuff that they did.
Yeah, you want to look up the other.
Oh, they didn't destroy the bad one. They've just put up the new one.
They just buried it in the grave next to her.
See, somebody
So
bought the bad one, and that's how they laundered their drug money for a second time.
So the bad one was by sculptor Dave Poulin, Poulin, and it was
Okay.
up for a couple years before enough outrage, sparked the need for a new statue.
Yeah.
This time they hired Carolyn Palmer.
Oh. Okay. So
During everybody was holding their breath when they unveiled
oh my God,
the new
I can
statue.
imagine.
And when it was unveiled, everybody burst into it like happiness. Like, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, that Dave Poulin, you said his name was? Let's check out some of his other statues.
Sure. Oh, this is pretty interesting. Look at how it looks full size. It even adds more meaning to else this guy did.
I would just like to see what his other things look like, because I want to know what the people of Jamestown saw that made them ask him to do that sculpture.
Nothing. He was just the person with the political connection to get it done.
Yeah. Oh, I can do it.
I know a guy.
I can do a statue of Lucy. Lucy who? That's my Aunt Lucy. That's
Okay, so here is some stuff that he has done. So do you want to see more?
Well, one more, maybe,
Okay.
just to get a comparison.
Here's a collection of stuff that he did.
Okay, that's good.
All right. Oh, I hit the wrong button. All right, there we go.
Well, I mean, it certainly doesn't look as bad as Lucy, but I don't know what these people are supposed to be. It's just not a good likeness maker.
Hmm.
But anyway, okay. Who knows? Maybe James is right. He was somebody's cousin. But
Anything on my list?
anything on your list, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Music is art. I wonder how that went today because I talked to Jim Redden and he said it was a fiasco. He's never doing it ever again.
It was a fiasco because of the timing of the band.
Painkillers, the power went out on the painkillers.
Oh, that's not good. Okay, so apparently
Does anyone enjoy music is art?
music is art. Well, I've enjoyed music as art in the past. James was going to go, but then he opted to do his laundry.
Same difference.
So, yeah, I guess they had some technical difficulties. This is the first time they've had it at the Outer Harbor, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they must have not had very good planning. I liked it when they had it at the Inner Harbor or whatever they call that, where the Cheerios General Mills is around there. I liked that. That was nice.
So Richard, how are you feeling post operation?
Every day, my health keeps improving more and more and more and more.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and you still haven't really had any pain or any kind of.
Still waiting for the pain, yeah.
Oh well, that's awesome. That's
That's great.
excellent. Yeah, that's the best news.
Yeah, that's good news.
And so, when can you resume normal activities?
The surgeon is very vague on that. He said, do what you normally do until your body tells you to stop.
Well, he's giving you a lot of credit then, so that you wouldn't hurt yourself. But do you have to go back to him for a 2-week checkup or something?
Very good, yes. A week from Monday, I go for my follow-up.
Yeah, that's good.
Did you have a near-death experience on the table?
Believe it or not, I dreamed when I was on the table and they put me under the anesthesiology that I was texting people.
That's like when you're doing something repetitive in a job and you start having those dreams at night. So it must be a repetitive action because you do it. That's how you communicate with people.
Right. In other
So
words,
it went into your dream.
and then as I was waking up, I thought, why would my mind go to texting? And I thought of a line from a poem. It goes like this: the written word is so powerful, even death stands back in its presence. And I thought, wow, I've been thinking about this whole thing about anesthesiology as almost like a way of going into the underworld.
Oh.
And that because of the way they were like guiding me, as I was going under, and they were reassuring me that they said, it'll be very brief. It's just a 10-minute thing, etc. And I thought that it was like a Dante's Inferno experience. So it was a pretty memorable experience on the whole.
Well, so you've had surgery before on your heart. So
right. I was under the influence of the anesthetic for 12 hours.
Holy cow.
When I woke up and I looked at the clock and I said, you thought it would be a lot longer than it was because we started at 8 o'clock and now it's 9 o'clock. And she said, this is 9 p.m. We started at 8 a.m.
Wow.
And then, of course, my first thought was to thank the cardiologist. Like, you put that much energy?
That must have been quite you wonder how a surgeon can keep up their stamina for a long period like that.
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you found this surgery to be different, a different experience
Yeah.
than the heart surgery.
Right. I didn't remember anything from the heart surgery thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they put you deep under for that.
yeah.
Did you get any messages from back, text messages back?
No, I didn't.
Oh, but that would have been interesting when you were near death, having near death experience, and then you texted someone and they texted you back from the grave.
From the nether world or whatever.
Did you
Yeah.
text live people or dead people?
I can't remember. I just remember, saying, "Oh, I got to tell them this," and I would text it out to them, and then, "Oh, I got to tell them this," and I would text something out to them.
Trippy.
It would be. I mean, do you remember that story a few years ago? I think they were it was a Japanese person in Japan, and they had a telephone booth in their backyard, and the telephone booth they would go and talk in the telephone booth to the people that were dead that they missed.
Right.
Yeah, that's a cultural thing in Japan. There's a post office called Right to the Dead.
Wow.
And what you do is you put down the name of the post office and the address, and you can write postcards to people who are dead, and they keep putting them up on a bigger and bigger and bigger display. And tourists go there just to see what people wrote to the dead.
That's so interesting. I mean, I have as a project when I was in therapy, I was writing letters to people that were dead. Like trying to sort out my emotions with my father and with my stepfather, and people that even people I didn't know, like my grandparents, who I wish I would have known. And that was an interesting. It was interesting some of the stuff that came out. Like, I remember when I was writing the letter to my father, I was like sympathizing with the kind of life he had to live, and then having to put up with my mother. It's like I didn't know that my letter was going to go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
You never could tell.
But it was an interesting little project. I think that would make it. I mean, it would make a cool little book if you wrote letters to famous dead people.
Mm. Are either of you fans of Rashida Jones?
I know that name, but I don't know who she is.
She just did an 8-part miniseries called Sunny. And in the premise of the series is her husband and her son die in an airline accident, So she goes to a grief counseling therapy group, and they say, did the deceased have a cell phone when they died? Yes, they did. Okay. Part of our therapy is you call that cell phone number, it'll go to voicemail, and you leave your message for the dead. Well, everybody does this in the group, right? And they claim that it's very therapeutic. But when Rashida Jones does it, no one picks up. It just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing.
It's so weird.
And the person said, that doesn't make sense because, unless the person is alive, it automatically goes to
voicemail.
So the question is did this person really die? And I'm sure it'll be answered as I continue watching the series.
Well,
No, she just had a landline. And no answering machine.
well, my friend Lorraine still has an answering machine, a landline with an answering machine. She's the only person I know who still has an answering machine.
It's retro.
And I can call her on her cell phone, but she usually doesn't keep it on. I just leave her a message.
Our friend Colleen O'Mara sent me a text message saying, I'm exasperated. I like talking on the phone. You like the written word. Apparently, we are at a crossroads. I said, no, here's my phone number for voicemail. call it and leave me a nice voicemail. Silence. Like she can't get into that.
Well, that's
Well, you don't get any feedback, Richard. So, I certainly would never argue with you about your mode of how you like to communicate, but I don't like talking on the phone. I like what we're doing now, which is face to face, and but we're, it's a conversation. It's not. When I talk to my sisters, I talk to them on Messenger on video, and that's oh, look at that, we're done. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us, and I appreciate it, and have a lovely evening. Goodbye, everyone.